best racehorse in the world and quite possibly one of the greatest ever, starts his 4-year-old campaign this Saturday. His name is Frankel and his trainer is Sir Henry Cecil.
Well, the Guineas obviously was quite exciting, wasn't it? Whether I know he galloped from the ground, whether he'd been in front so long or whether he was just getting a little bit tired, I never quite know. But it was a race people will always remember.
And what about you went on the Sussex Stakes where the big talk beforehand you were taking on Camphor Cliffs?
It worked out just as I sort of hoped or expected. And he settled well, and there was no pace, and he had to sort of make his own running really. And he did it very easily.
Geez, I mean, afterwards there was some talk about Camphor Cliffs not being right. Do you think in any way distracted from Frankel, or do you think that was,
Well, I mean, not really. I mean, he beat him fair and square. I mean, where the horse, if you're coming to the end of your tether, it's much easier to go from one side to or the other rather than going straight forward. If you're climbing up a hill and you're very tired, if you start zigzagging, you'll get to the top. If you keep climbing, walking straight forward, it's harder.
We'll go on to this year. I mean, you've had the well-documented injury, which obviously is over. Is that something that might recur, or is it just one of those things that can happen?
No, it shouldn't recur. Only he's fine. It's just it's a hiccup you don't want, because I think it's probably important to get a race into him before you go to Ascot. And if you didn't get a race into him, it's a long time till Ascot. I mean, it's a long time since he ran last time, and so we're nursing him to.
We had the public gallop recently. What's the idea of a public gallop, Henry?
Well, the idea was just to get the adrenaline going a little bit. It was all boxed down, and luckily, thanks to the racing public, and there were plenty of people there, it's rather like having a very easy race. Right? And the main thing was to get him to settle, and we didn't ask him anything until about 2.5 hours. Yeah?
You mentioned afterwards that you wish they'd almost gone a bit faster.
Well, maybe a little bit in the early stages, right? But on the other hand, maybe they were right, because we haven't been able to use the grass. It's been a funny year. We've been on the all-weather. You've got to be careful when you go from one surface to another. So perhaps, they were very sensible. The only thing is that sort of we're trying to catch the train a little bit with Newbury, and maybe if I'd gone 5 miles an hour faster through the first half, it would have been more helpful. But at the end of the day, you can argue it both ways. Yeah?
What sort of race would you like him to run in if things would go?
Well, I mean, to begin with, obviously we're going to start to the mile. I mean, it's question mark at Ascot whether we'd go mile and a quarter. Yeah? I mean, maybe he may stay at a mile. Yeah? When he he will step up. I'm sure. He's got to tell us that it's the right thing to do later in the year. I mean, whether it be Eclipse time or whether it be Jumpmont time, but there's a good chance he will. But I wouldn't want to step him up until I'm ready for everything.
What would dictate that as a layman? What feel would you be expecting? Is that from work at home?
He'll tell me what I should do, and at the moment I'm rather sort of veering between two races a mile anyway. Maybe Newbury and the Lockinge and Old Ascot before even thinking of going on, but I'm sure he will go on.
You're confident he'll stay, presumably, in your mind. You see him.
I think he will, but I mean, there again, I mean, let's see how he races, how he settles, and there's a very good chance he will get a mile and a quarter. But I think it'd be sort of just slightly later on in the season when he'll tell us. It'd be nice for him to go a mile and a quarter. Then you're taking on the best of a different distance. Yeah?
Would that help? Obviously, Prince Carl's got some wonderful stallions. Yeah. Would that help, or would it make no difference in terms of his stallion prospects? I'm sure.
Well, I think if you're just taking on the same 2 or 3 milers all through the year, he's not the same sort of hopefully sort of getting on top of them, and then having a chance of taking on the mile and a quarter horses, which are different horses altogether. Yeah? So you're taking on the best of two distances.
There had been this possibility of a meet with Black Caviar. Is that important to you? And two, just from an outside, have you been very impressed with Black Caviar, what you've seen?
I have. I mean, she's obviously very, very good, yeah? and obviously very consistent. I'd love them to meet, because I think it's good for racing. Racing needs sort of to see good horses, and lovely to have champions from Australia and England taking on each other. I'd love to see it. I mean, I think the only race they could possibly meet, I would think, would be in the in the Sussex if they both ran. Yeah? But I'd love to see it. I think it'd be good for racing.
Mm. You ended last season with a run in the QE2 on Champions Day, the new Champions Day. Again, if the season went well, would it be fair to say it's more likely it might end up playing the Champions Stakes over the mile and a quarter if things
well,
went well?
By that time we'll have a much better idea whether he gets the mile and a quarter well. I think from there it'd be one or the other. I mean, whether he can get a mile and a quarter and come back to a mile. Mm-hmm. But I think we'll see. It's just sort of, I think we leave it all open, don't you? And
unlikely to be the States or the State, the Breeders' Cup. Is that unlikely in your mind?
Well, I mean, if you were going to go for Ascot, you wouldn't be going to America. And then if you're going to America, you're really sort of at that time of the year. You're on it's a different sort of ball game, isn't it? Really. I mean, the surface and the tracks and things. It's not out of the question. Last year,
you were pains to say that the part of the learning profile of teaching him more and more to get more settled in his racing. Is that continuing to go well? Because it was noticeable last year, how much that did improve. Is that
I think
still
by
the case?
Ascot, I mean, although Ascot, we won't talk about the race. It went wrong completely. He settled very well, didn't he? And he's a very he's got a lot of energy and everything. And I mean, he may take a race to sort him out. But I think as time goes on, looking at last year, he will settle well and go from there. The main thing about him is, I mean, you can go with him quite a long way out. He seems to have a turn of foot that doesn't just last for a furlong. It does last a bit longer, which not every horse has. And I think it was marvellous for the Prince to keep him in training, and a lot of people sort of commercially would have retired him. I'm glad he did, because I think he's a stronger horse now, and hopefully, I mean, you can never tell, but hopefully he'll be even better. So if you've got a horse of that calibre, I mean, they don't come every day, and they don't grow on trees. It's nice to actually sort of see his full potential, and Prince is sort of taking that chance.